Of this edition of Primetime News, despite concerns about a naval incident over the weekend, inter-Korean family reunions proceeded as planned. The second round saw North Korean participants being more cautious of officials who were monitoring them. The ruling Saenuri Party urges the main opposition to turn its focus on passing urgent bills as the NPAD continues to protest state-authored history textbooks. And Chinese Premier Li Keqiang is set to visit Seoul to attend a long-overdue Korea-China-Japan summit. On the sidelines, Li will hold a one-on-one with President Park Geun-hye to discuss Korea-China ties and other global issues. Stay with us for these stories and more. It's 10 p.m. on a Monday here in Korea. Welcome to Primetime News. I'm Daniel Choy. The second and final round of reunions for war-separated Korean families has come to a close. It was hard watching them say goodbye after 65 years of separation. It will be even harder for them to return to their daily lives. For the inside perspective, we turn to our Unification Ministry correspondent, Song Ji-sun, who has been covering this story for us so far. Ji-sun, it was obviously another very intense and emotional day for those who are involved.
If it's not the most intense day, the 90 families from the South Korea have arrived and returned home today, and the 12 hours over successions in 3 days was not enough for them because they waited for 65 years. Now, many will be suffering very deep and emotional pain and stress after parting with the long-lost relatives on the other side of the border. So Korea's Red Cross will be checking up on them after they return. Now, many of the participants, not knowing when or if they will ever be able to see each other again, sent off their loved ones with the words of hope. Take a listen. Their tears have piled up for over 65 years. So we have the countless number of stories which they have yet to share. So much they wanted to say and do with their families, but so little time. But even on this last day, many North Korean participants managed their words and actions carefully, fully aware of the authorities around them. These cautious exchanges made their families from the South even more sad and added a layer of heaviness to the event.
어머니 울지 말라요. 이러세요. 행복해요. 우리 행복해요. 울지 말라요.
우리 행정관이 언제 한번 왔다 갔다 그랬으면 좋겠습니다. 그게 바로.
Their wishes may come true, as the two Koreas have vowed to expand regular exchanges, including letter and possibly a permanent channel for meetings.
Now, other than the relief of emotional ones, we can let out a sigh of relief now, a sigh of emotional ones, that is, from the families. It's been done. It's over. Thankfully, everything went smoothly. But of course, time is not a friend, and we do look forward to when this might happen again.
Right, it's hard to survive like nearly 7 decades, and time is ticking, and these families are aging very fast. Now, over 1/3 of the 90 people who participated in this event was over the age of 90. And South Korea's oldest participant, Lee Seok-ju, who was 98, had to rest the whole day on Sunday, while another 93-year-old participant hurt his head after sleeping this afternoon. And 3 more hurdles remain before we will actually see some progress in expanding these exchanges.
Pyongyang cooperated actively and the reunion was a successful one. But the two Koreas must hold governmental talks at an early date, as soon as possible, to expand regular exchanges. The key factor in doing so is how the two sides approach the matter of resuming the tour program at Mount Kumgang.
Now, since the first reunion in 2000, the reunions reduced both in size and frequency after a South Korean tourist was shut down by North Korean soldiers in 2008 at Mount Kumgang. The tour stopped then, and Seoul placed sanctions on Pyongyang by limiting exchanges and aid. Now, although the two made some progress by the last August high-level talks, which made this reunion possible, there are some more steps to take, more dialogue, and of course, Pyongyang's will to give up nuclear weapons, as well as other steps towards approaching the international community to actually expand exchanges on terms of the family reunions.
Well, personally, I'm going to dream big and that we won't have to use words like waitlist anymore when the next time we hold reunion events like this. Thank you so much for your contributions so far, Ji-sun. Do catch up on the rest that you deserve.
Thank you.
China's Premier Li Keqiang arrives in Seoul this Saturday for a planned trilateral summit with Korea and Japan, even when the date for that three-way meeting is not yet confirmed. This will be Li's first visit to Korea since taking office in 2013. Our Hwang Sung-hee has this report.
The main purpose of Premier Li Keqiang's visit is to attend the planned trilateral Korea-Japan-China summit. The presidential office of Cheongwade said Monday that Li will arrive in Seoul on Saturday for a three-day stay. On the summit sidelines, Li will hold bilateral talks with President Park on Saturday to discuss Korea-China ties along with regional and global issues. He will also meet with the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Prime Minister, and business leaders. The date for the trilateral summit has not been confirmed, but November 1st is the most likely date, with Japanese media reporting the leaders will hold their first summit in more than 3 years this Sunday at Korea's presidential office. But what about the much-anticipated bilateral meeting between President Park and their Japanese counterpart? A presidential office official says Korea has proposed to hold the meeting on Monday, November 2nd, and is waiting for Japan's answer. However, both sides still seem uncertain about the agenda for the meeting between President Park and Shinzo Abe. The Japanese daily Sankei Shimbun reported Monday that Korea is pushing for an apology from Prime Minister Abe about Japan's wartime sexual enslavement of Korean women. This while Japan wants a no-strings-attached summit. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
President Park Geun-hye will address the National Assembly on Tuesday to explain the government's budget plan and policy goals for next year. It will be her third address to the National Assembly since taking office in 2013. None of her predecessors have addressed the National Assembly more than once during their term, as it is the Prime Minister who traditionally does so. The President is expected to call on lawmakers to swiftly pass a handful of bills related to economic revitalization and labor reform. It's unclear if President Park will raise the issue of reintroducing a state-issued secondary school history textbook. You can catch the President's speech live on Arirang TV at 10 a.m. Korea time on Tuesday. Showing no signs of reaching a compromise and getting back to their legislative work, rival parties continue playing ping-pong over a planned state-authored history textbook. Kim Young-gil zooms in on the ongoing seesaw battle.
Criticizing the opposition's all-out efforts to halt the government's plan for a state-authored secondary education history textbook, the ruling Saenuri Party is urging the opposition bloc to normalize parliamentary affairs.
The golden time is running out to pass bills related to reviving the nation's stagnant economy and stabilizing people's livelihoods. The opposition should stop using the textbook as a political tool and come back to the negotiating table.
Floor leader Won Yu-chul also accused the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy for raising allegations that the Education Ministry has formed a secret task force to deal with reintroducing the state-published textbook. However, certain that the presidential office instructed the ministry to establish a secret task force, the NPAD vows to explore the matter.
The Education Ministry says it's just a normal task force team to support the government's plan. But if we look into its duties, the team specialises in filing daily reports to the presidential office and monitors the media over history textbook issues.
The NPAD also insists on hosting an open forum with the ruling bloc and President Park Geun-hye to look into the current textbooks page by page to determine if they do contain left-leaning content and distorted descriptions of history. With government approval, 8 private companies publish Korea's secondary school history textbooks. Primary schools have a single set of state-authored textbooks. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
North Korea and China have reportedly agreed to move forward with a long-stall plan for a special administrative zone in the northwestern region of the communist state. For details, we turn to Oh Soo-young.
After 13 years of nothing much, North Korea and China have once again agreed to start co-developing Siniju, a special administrative region in North Korea. According to a government source in Seoul, the two countries have agreed to resume plans to set up a capitalistic-style economic zone, modelled after Hong Kong and Macau. The project was initially conceived in 2002 by North Korea's former leader Kim Jong-il to experiment with a market economy and to attract foreign investment. However, the plan was later abandoned when a Chinese-born businessman appointed as the region's governor was arrested in China for tax evasion. But now the plan seems to be back on track after Lo Yunshan, a senior Chinese official, attended celebrations in Pyongyang this month, marking 70 years of North Korea's ruling Workers' Party. According to the plans, a canal will be built across the Siniju region, creating northern and southern districts with residential areas and public infrastructure on each side. 10 bridges will arch over the canal, which will be used for shipping goods and industrial water management. 6 mobile communication base stations will also be installed by the two partner countries. Total investment in Siniju is expected to reach $400 billion. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
In tech realm, Korea's two ultra-high definition or UHD TV makers Samsung and LG Display are continuing to dominate the global market while reaching a new record in shipments. Shin Se-min tells us more.
Korea's two leading panel makers are stepping up their competition, aiming to further expand their dominance in the global UHD panel market. A report from IHS Technology, a global industry tracker, shows that Samsung Display took the lead in the Ultra HD panels market in the third quarter, shipping out over 3.6 million units, outpacing its rival LG Display that nabbed a little over 31% of the entire market. Combine the two, global shipments of UHD TV panels topped over 11.5 million units in the July to September period, posting above the 10 million mark for the first time. The figures are an advancement of nearly 80% on year and are also up 25% compared to the previous quarter. A Taiwan-based panel maker took third place, and China's Bow Technology placed fourth on the list with nearly 14% of the market share. Watchers say more affordable models have helped expand the UHD TV panel market, leading to record shipments. And it's likely that the Korean manufacturers will retain the lead as top sellers for some time.
Even with Chinese manufacturers chasing after Korea's leading brands like Samsung and LG, without their own technical skills, it's going to be tough to pump out a massive number of UHD panels.
In the third quarter, LG Display, the largest display panel maker in the world, posted rather disappointing results, with operating profit falling 30% on year, largely because of a fall in panel prices. But despite a small bump in that quarter, the OLED UHD TV market is still dominated by LG Electronics and LG Display, as China and Japan, some of the world's largest TV markets, are poised for more growth. Market watchers are optimistic that Korean makers' market domination will expand even more, as those firms currently excel in skills needed for mass production. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
When it comes to hackers, there are two types: those who try to circumvent security and break into networks, and ethical computer hackers or white hats who try to improve security. Connie Kim shows how Korea aims to better find, foster, and promote more of the latter through competitions.
In 2014, hackers accessed Sony Pictures computers, releasing thousands of emails, documents, and other personal information in an attempt to stop the comedy The Interview being released. Last winter, hackers threatened to release thousands of pages of data about Korea's nuclear power plants and to conduct cyber attacks unless Korea shut down 3 of its reactors.
Cybersecurity is growing more important now than ever, but Korea is at a low tier when it comes to raising ethical computer hackers, or so-called white hat hackers. Korea is trying to foster these white hats by holding hacking competitions like this and selecting the best.
A total of 10 individuals and teams that devised the most efficient policies and technology to track down hackers, and those who came up with solutions to hacking simulations the fastest were awarded prizes. One of the prize winners says the hardest part during the competition was an indiscriminate virus attack.
The simulation system was designed to launch an attack into our computer server every 30 minutes. It was challenging, but our studies in the hacking field paid off.
The selected technology and policies will be utilized in cyber warfare research and development to better deal with Korea's growing cybersecurity threats.
We aim to promote this hacking competition and discover the most outstanding white hat hackers.
Individuals interested in anti-hacking systems also took part, getting a chance to try out the newest simulations and meeting professional white hats to help resolve unresolved questions in the large field of hacking. Promoting and raising awareness of these specialized hackers, the country aims to have 5,000 additional white hats by 2017. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Sponsored by Korea's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the two-day Korea-Middle East Cooperation Forum ended its 12th meeting on Monday in Seoul. Lee Ji-won tells us more about the gathering for academics and others to hold deep discussions and provide insights into issues affecting their respective geographic regions.
Asia, so the international community expect more active roles of European and Middle Eastern countries in dealing with North Korea.
This is what Professor Chang Ji-hyang says about how the Middle East can play an important role in the Korean peninsula. Professor Chang adds that Iran's nuclear deal does not have direct impact on North Korea's denuclearization, as they have different domestic power structures and economies. North Korea is too poor and closed to be affected by economic pressure from outside. However, she says that some Middle Eastern organizations, such as Hamas, illegally trade with North Korea, which helps the North. Thus, she stressed greater help from the Middle East nations is needed. After 3 presentations on the regional challenges in the Middle East and Korea, 3 renowned professors and a senator began debating the issues. This is what was discussed during the first session of the 12th Korea-Middle East Cooperation Forum in Seoul on Monday. The annual event, co-hosted by Korea Arab Society, the Jeju Peace Institute, and the Arab Thought Forum, seeks to exchange in-depth opinions and analysis on how to further strengthen the relationships and develop networking among the leaders. This year's forum largely focused on current issues such as the refugee crisis and youth unemployment under the theme Partnership for Peace, Prosperity and People. Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se gave the keynote speech, highlighting the importance of this year's topics and on expanding the horizons of Korea-Middle East cooperation. The morning session was followed by 2 more sessions on the economy and society, covering crucial topics including maximizing financial cooperation between Korea and the Middle East at a time of falling oil prices and high youth unemployment. Lee Ji-won, Arirang News.
More than 900 world-leading experts are gathered in Abu Dhabi for arguably the biggest brainstorming event in the world. Moon Gun-young takes us to the summit on the global agenda, an important prelude to Davos 2016.
Abu Dhabi. Signified in an array of stunning skyscrapers and endless sandy beaches, it's almost impossible to imagine that this was once nothing but wind-blown desert sand dunes. In just 30 years' time, the country has undergone a profound transformation at a pace almost unmatched by that of anywhere else in the world. And here in a city with a unique mix of Arabian charm and cosmopolitan sophistication is where the world's largest brainstorming event is taking place. When we think of the World Economic Forum, it's usually the snow-capped mountains or the resort town of Davos that come to mind. But the agenda for Davos are set here at the Summit on the Global Agenda, held roughly 3 months prior to the winter meeting. Now we're talking about nearly 1,000 experts, intellectuals, business leaders, public figures, and heads of state engaged in 3 full days of interactive workshops addressing the world's most pressing issues today. Pressing issues ranging from economic growth and social inclusion to the future of the internet and gender parity.
And the purpose of this meeting is to bring together the finest minds in the world and get them together to come up with ideas and solutions and pathways forward. And these will get discussed in Davos at our annual meeting in January. And the whole idea there is all the leaders will then take them forward, and they'll become projects and initiatives that actually hopefully make a big difference.
Taken individually, these challenges illustrate the magnitude of the task the world faces. Looked at collectively, they demonstrate the complexity. Finding solutions that not only address these challenges, but do not exacerbate others will require creativity and a fresh look at the way we approach problem solving. And just how do we do that? By joining in on the debate. 문건영, Arirang News, Abu Dhabi.
Now for international headlines, we turn to our Bruce Harrison in the news center. Rescue operations are underway in Afghanistan and neighboring countries after a massive quake struck the region. Bruce, there are reports of the numbers of death toll escalating constantly ever since we heard the first signs and first reports of this disaster, right, Bruce?
Hey, good evening, Daniel. It's still unclear how many people have died. YTN News reports at least 70 now have been killed in Pakistan and in neighboring Afghanistan. The quake struck today in a remote area of northeastern Afghanistan. At least 5 people died in the capital, Kabul, and at least 12 students were killed at a girls' school in Takhar province. In Islamabad, people say the ground shook beneath them as they tried to find cover.
I went to the back of the ambulance thinking that someone was shaking the vehicle, but there was no one there. Then I looked at the house in front of me and it was literally quivering. I started reciting the Holy Quran.
The death toll could continue to climb since communications are still down in some remote areas. Yonhap News reports no one was injured at Korean embassies in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. China is drawing up blueprints for economic and social development, and considering its clout, whatever changes it makes will have a major impact on the global economy. But right now, we know little else aside from government officials opening a meeting today to discuss reforms. They're formulating another 5-year plan, during which China's main focus will be to maintain 7% growth. As for now, it looks like growth for this year is going to fall below 7% for the first time in 25 years. And according to data, China's economy grew just under that mark in the third quarter compared to last year. In part because China represents more than 30% of global GDP growth, analysts believe any target from the meeting below 7% would send markets and projections around the world tumbling. When the highly secretive meeting ends Thursday, state news agency Xinhua's going to release a long communique. Until then, investors will be holding their breaths. The European Union and some Balkan states have agreed on a plan to temporarily shelter 100,000 refugees. Our Son Jung-in has more on some of the first concrete measures to deal with the crisis.
Thousands of refugees continue their journey toward Western Europe by crossing into Croatia from Slovenia. This is their new route after Hungary closed its borders last month. Wrapped in blankets in a bid to protect themselves against freezing temperatures, those making the journey say it's a tough route and that there's no food or water in the camps they stop at.
It's too much cold. It's too bad. Nobody, if you want to stay, you can't stay. It's better to walk this way because it's too dangerous.
EU and Balkan leaders came together at a hastily arranged emergency summit in Brussels to seek ways to ease the plight of refugees making the grueling journey across the Balkans to reach Germany and other wealthy EU countries.
The Europe is at stake now, and if we don't do all we can together to find a common solution and to deliver it, then this is the beginning of the end of the EU.
The leaders agreed on the need to take stronger measures to protect refugees and to increase security along the EU's borders with the Western Balkans. Some pointed out the meeting's lack of effectiveness as Turkey, which is the starting point for most of the migrants, was absent from the talks. Son Jung-in, Arirang News.
The placement of refugees is part of a 17-point plan devised at the emergency meeting. The shelters or reception areas will be built from Greece along the route towards Germany. And that's a glimpse of the world. Have a great night.
It started to rain from mid-afternoon here in Seoul, enough to break out the umbrella. And as rain clouds keep moving into the peninsula, we can expect more rain throughout the night. And moderate rain is expected. Western coastal regions in Chungcheong-do province will see 10 to 40 millimeters, while the rest of the peninsula will get 5 to 30 millimeters. And will continue through the morning commute, so be sure to take caution out on the roads. And this system will trigger cool air to sweep in over the peninsula, causing highs to drop to seasonal averages, as the daily high here in the capital will only make it to 17, while Daegu and Gwangju topping out at 19, and Busan will climb up to 21. And as for the other regions, Daejeon and Jeju Island will see a high of 17 and 21. Now, with November just around the corner, it's about time to get ready for chillier days to come. More rain is expected on Thursday, and on Saturday, the last day of October, we'll feel the low dropping down to a near freezing 3 here in Seoul. That's all for the weather. Good night.
We've come to the end of this edition of Primetime News. As always, thank you for watching.